Hey everybody, Matt here for Imagine Then Make. Thanks for stopping by. In this video, we're going to pick up where we left off at the end of last video. In the last video, we used LibreCAD to draw an 8-pointed star. In this video, we're going to look at ways to modify that 8-pointed star. So at the end of the previous video, this is the 8-pointed star that I drew. In this video, I want to look at ways to modify the star. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make a backup copy of this and use a working copy on another layer to make our modifications. So what I'm going to do is this star right here is on layer number 1. This is our original copy, and this layer is visible. I want to select layer 2. I'm going to left mouse click and drag across the entire drawing. I'm going to switch over to here and say choose the move/copy command. It's going to ask me to specify a reference point. I'm going to go back to and turn on snap to grid right down here. I'm going to click on the origin, left mouse click. Then it says specify the target point. Also going to click left mouse click on the origin. Now it brings up the move copy options dialog box. So I want to keep the original. I'm only going to make one copy, and I'm going to place it on the current layer, which is currently layer number 2. Select OK. Now if I turn off layer 1 and turn on layer 2, there's the selected copy that's been placed on layer 2. If I press escape twice, that deselects all those lines. So now I have a copy of the star on layer 2, and my original copy is still on layer 1. So layer 1 is going to be sort of my backup copy, and from this point forward I'm going to work on layer 2. Now the next thing I wanted to make clear is that even though we created this star by highlighting these lines and then doing a move and rotate, that's what we did in the last video, each of these lines are separate entities. It's the same as if they had been drawn manually using, let's say, the 2-point line command or the angle command like we did in the previous video. So there's nothing really special about all of these copies. They're just automatically drawn as a result of running the move and rotate command. Okay, so there is one interesting artifact, like this line right here. If I click on it, okay, you can see, hopefully you can see that it's selected, and there's only one line there, and that happens to be the original line that we started with, our original 3-inch vertical line from the first video. Now if I click on this line right here, again, my computer's a little laggy because I'm running the screen recorder. If I left mouse click, now it might be really hard for you to see on the screen, but there's actually 2 lines on top of each other here. One has been selected, and that's what these little reddish dots are indicating, that there is indeed a line there that has been selected, and there's another line underneath that line. So if I go ahead and press delete right here, again, we're working on the backup copy, so our original is going to stay intact. So if I press the delete key here, okay, so now the highlighted line has disappeared. Now if I click on this line again, now you see that it's fully highlighted. So there's just one line there now where earlier there were 2. So there's one line there. And now there's one line there. There's one line there. If I click here, now you'll see that there's more than one line. So I'm going to press the delete key again, and then click on, left mouse click on this line again, and you can see that it's selected, indicating that there's just one line there. So how did these duplicate lines get put there to begin with? Well, that's kind of a consequence of using this move and rotate command, because remember, the section that we rotated was 1, 2, 3, 4, these 5 lines. So when I take this section, I make a copy of it and then place it right here, 45 degrees away from the original. This line is going to be duplicated. And likewise, when I take the same section and duplicate it again and put it right here, these 2 lines are going to be duplicated. So just something to be aware of when you use commands like move and rotate. They really speed up your drawing, but at the same time there might be some consequences for using that command, like getting some extra duplicated lines that you didn't anticipate. So I'm just going to go around here, and I'm just left mouse clicking and pressing escape twice, and I'm just looking for the duplicated lines. So there's one right there, so I'm going to press delete. Now if I left mouse click again, I can see there's only one line there. So bear with me for a second while I go through and remove these duplicated lines. It's just kind of a piece of housekeeping business that I like to take care of before we continue. Okay, so unless I've missed one, I think I've got all the duplicates out of the way now. So I'm going to go ahead and save. Now the next thing I want to point out is that there is nothing special about each of these duplicated and rotated groups of lines. They could have been drawn manually, which would have required more time, which makes the move and rotate command so valuable. It's a great time saver. But there's nothing special about these lines. So I can take each one of these lines and I can delete it if I want to. So maybe we'll start there. Let's delete these sort of center lines for the star points. And now you can see that there's a much different kind of a star there. How about if we add another circle? So let's go, I'm going to make a 1-inch diameter, 1/2-inch radius circle right there. And then if I go ahead and choose our trim command, as we did in the previous video, we're going to use this small circle as my limiting entity, which is what it's asking for down here. So I'm going to left mouse click, choose that circle, and then I'm going to click on the section of the line I want to keep. What I'm trying to do is delete these in the middle of the circle. Okay, so that starts to look more like a flower than a star, which is fine. Now, what else could we do? There really is kind of endless possibilities here. We could, again, more thinking while I'm drawing. If I take the 2-point command, we're going to turn on the snap-on endpoints snap switch, and what I want to do is I want to draw a line from here to, I need also the grid snap point. So here's an interesting thing to keep in mind. You can have multiple snaps operating at the same time, which this is one of the strongest areas of the whole program, being able to control where the endpoints of your drawing entities are, lines and circles and so on, by really learning and understanding what you can do with these different snap settings. So once again, right now I have snap on grid and I also have snap on endpoint. But there's also snap on entity, snap on center, snap in the middle, let's see, snap on intersection, and this one is snap distance. So in all the time I've been using LibreCAD, I definitely use snap to grid, snap on endpoints. I have used the snap on entity from time to time. I have used the snap center. I can't recall a time where I used the snap middle or the snap distance, but I have definitely used the snap intersection. Okay, so back to drawing. So what I want to do here, because I'm just kind of thinking while I'm drawing, is I want to add some lines right here. Oops, that actually was not what I wanted to do. So I could do undo by going up to edit and clicking undo, or the shortcut key is Control Z. So really what I want to do is draw some lines on these points that are at the 45-degree angle. Okay, so now what happens if I draw another circle, and this time I draw a circle right there. And so now I can use that snap at intersection, this snap right here, and use, let's see, let's just see what it looks like. Let's draw using the angle command. I'll leave the length at 2 inches. We're definitely going to have to trim. And the first angle I'll put in is minus 90 degrees. And I will, let's turn off snap to grid. I'll try and explain why in a minute. And then I'll go up here for angle and I'll type in a 0. And now if I trim using choose this as my limiting entity, and I want to get rid of that. Oops. Not sure really what I did there. See what happens when I try and talk and draw at the same time. Okay, so that's back where I was. Let's use trim. We're going to use this as the limited entity, and I want to trim that section. Okay, press escape. Okay, this time I'm going to use that limiting entity, keep this, press escape. Now if I click this, remember this is one of the lines that was duplicated and rotated, but it's just like any other line, so I can delete it here. Not quite sure how this is going to look, but I'll try and finish the exercise so you get the idea here. So I'm going to trim again. What I wanted to do was put another set of points that are a little bit lower, and I thought at first if the tip of the point was even with this angle here, that might look kind of cool. Okay, so let's continue. Pressing escape, go back to angle. Going to put 180 here. and go back here and put in minus 90. Back to trim. Pressed escape too many times. Go back to the angle command. So I want to go positive 90 and 180. And I want to go 0. And I want to go back to 90. Pressing escape. Let's go back and trim some of this up. Limited entity. Let's keep this escape. Limiting entity. Oops. Yeah. Limiting entity. Interesting. I definitely will use LibreCAD oftentimes like this, where I'm just kind of play around with it until I get what it is I'm trying to get. Okay, so not quite sure how I feel about it, but I think you get I hope you get the general idea. Control Z, put that big circle back. Save. Okay, so I hope you can see that the new version of the star, and there still are 8 points, if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there still are 8 points, but I hope you will agree that it looks much different than that one. And off camera, I played with some more design ideas. That's a copy of the original. Here's another sort of modified version. And yet another modified version, slightly modified. So that's about all I wanted to show here. First, how to copy a whole design over to another entity, another layer rather, so that you've got a backup copy of your original work, and then also to show and demonstrate that, describe that the copied line segments that were produced as a result of the move and rotate command are just like any other lines. They could have just as easily have been drawn manually, but instead we sort of automated the drawing process by using the move and rotate command. But there are some consequences, or can be some consequences, meaning you can get some duplicated lines when sections overlap. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to describe or show today. I suppose if we turn on all the layers at the same time, we get quite a mishmash of design ideas. But that's another way you can look at modifying the design. Put different elements on different layers and then turn the layers kind of on and off at will to try and create different designs. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching.